A prominent lawyer and university proprietor, Chief Afe Babalola, senior advocate of Nigeria this past week, declared that the government of President Bola Tinubu is turning Nigerians into beggars through its palliative regime anchored on the distribution of rice. Babalola expressed concern over the country's worsening hunger and insecurity, noting that many have abandoned their farms out of fear of attack by marauding bandits and killer herdsmen. He also emphasized the government's duty was to ensure citizens' welfare and called for the revival of the 1963 Constitution to address the nation's challenges. We are now being joined for a conversation on this matter with Dr. George Agbakahi, a public affairs analyst and Southeast leader of the Tinubu Support Organization. Good morning, and it's lovely to have you on the show with us.
Thank you very much for having me on. Happy Sunday to you.
Thank you very much. Now, inflation in Nigeria is primarily driven by food inflation, and distribution of free rice, although nice in a very short term, has no long-term solution for hunger in Nigeria. It also results in higher inflation. Why do you believe that the president continues to use short-term relief, such as sharing of rice, that also has negative implications for inflation and our economy?
First of all, the issue of palliatives that was introduced by the current administration is just a temporary measure. You see, when we are really talking about the economy or the steps the current president, President Bola Tinubu, is taking, to correct the anomalies in the economy, I think it is pertinent for us to look at it holistically. Let's look at it holistically. Our economy in the past has not been great. It has not been that great. There has really been a paradigm shift since President Bola Tinubu came on board. You remember vividly before he came in, our economy wasn't that great. Nigeria was kind of on a life support. The last administration, as well as the previous administration, we are all aware that it was just like an artificial economy that we had. When the president came in and saw the way the economy was going, he had to be bold enough to extricate the fuel subsidy, and obliterate the multiple exchange rate to single exchange rate. In the past, the foreign exchange market, as well as the subsidy regime, it was a mess. It was only very few Nigerians that were benefiting, from this corrupt practice. So the president came in just barely a year ago, maybe a year and 2 months. He has been able to lay the foundation and structures of an incoming great economy. Since he came in, there has been news report, revenue has doubled by 9.1 trillion naira, since this 2024, since he came in. That's a step in the right direction. Before he came in, Nigeria was only servicing debts with 97% of our revenues. But since he came in, he has brought this down to 68%. So a lot has been done. I hear what some of the opposition parties are talking about, but I see it as politically motivated. I'm not saying that there is no poverty in the land, but there has been temporary measures to mitigate this poverty. Like, for example, it's clear, $5 billion, has been paid off in terms of outstanding foreign exchange obligations. So these are all the things. You know very well, look at the student loan. It's not only talking about palliatives. There are also initiatives that are woman-driven, that are woman-related. Look at the great student loan scheme. The president has been able to put smiles on the face of so many parents. So many parents in Nigeria is on record, cannot put their children to school. 45.6 billion naira has been put into the student loan scheme. And as you know, a lot of students are taking advantage of this. Just last week, about 2.5 billion naira, has been given to students and their universities. A lot has been done. In the areas of infrastructure, a lot has been done. You see, let me tell you, look at, since the president came into power, the issue of oil, 1.6 million barrels of oil is what we are doing now. Before he came in, it was less, about 1.2 million. So a lot has been done. Compressed national gas. Even on a personal note, I've also changed to it. A lot of Nigerians are changing compressed natural gas, which is a step in the right direction. So that the issue of, using petrol will soon become a thing of the past, as a way of transportation in Nigeria. So a lot is happening. A lot is happening. There is the Nigerian Youth Investment Fund. About 110 billion is there. And the youths are benefiting from this. So people that are talking that the president is only sharing palliatives. No, let us look at it holistically. He is doing a whole lot to improve the well-being of Nigerians. This administration just came in. You don't expect magic to happen within 1 year. But I believe sincerely, in the next 1 year, 1 year and a half, things will get better in this country. What Nigeria needs, the president, what is needed is patience. The president has the interest of this great country at heart, and he will do a whole lot to fulfill the aspirations of Nigerians.
All right, Chief. Thank you. Thank you very much. You referred to those who are complaining as members of the opposition. But the basis for this interview with you today, sir, has to do with the advisory from one of Nigeria's biggest legal luminaries, who is not aligned to any party whatsoever, Chief Afe Babalola, a senior advocate of Nigeria. And I think that it is important to dimension what he's saying when he made a plea that the president shouldn't focus on palliatives alone so that he doesn't turn Nigerians into beggars, and that he should do the two key things that the Constitution requires that any government should do, which is to secure and safeguard lives and property. And he made reference to the fact that part of the reason why people are struggling is because they can't go to their farms. It's because the farms have been taken over largely by bandits and terrorists. And he says, do something about that. And then he talked, about the welfare of the people. A country, a government is not supposed to be run like a PLC. A government is supposed to look after the welfare of its people in totality, not by, dishing out handouts in the names of palliatives, of rice today, of bread tomorrow, of gari, at the next day. So he's saying that dimension the problems of Nigerians and empower them to be able to look after themselves. It says that if they can't afford transportation because of the cost of fuel, they can't go to their farms because of what is happening at the farms. They can't afford electricity because you have also, suddenly removed subsidy. We have turned subsidy into something that we now demonize. Those are the things that Chief Afe Babalola is speaking against. I wonder if you have thoughts as to the core essence of his intervention, and not to refer to what is being said as, attacks from opposition.
Thank you very much for that question. You see, the issue of insecurity in the country didn't just start in the current administration. We are all aware, even during the Obasanjo regime, towards the end, when Boko Haram came into play, that led to a lot of kidnappings during Jonathan administration, as well as during Buhari administration. It's not a current phenomenon. But I can tell you specifically that in this current administration, the issue of banditry, the issue of kidnapping, as well as farmers-herders conflict, which are the major issues of insecurity in the country, as well as Boko Haram. They have reduced a little bit. Our military is doing a pretty good job in ameliorating these security concerns. It is on record that since the president came in, the military has been able to neutralize over 6,000 planned attacks. They've been able to capture, a lot of terrorists, about 4,500 according to news reports. A lot has been done. We don't expect magic overnight. The president has been able to, provide equipments, military equipments, arms, helicopters to the military. I think the president has tried in this area, and the military is doing a great job, to curtail these issues of security. I understand very well that the issue of insecurity is a great problem in the country. But it's happening. Even the agriculture you are talking about, there has also been a lot of improvement in the area of agriculture. The president, the current administration, has distributed a whole lot of fertilizers running into millions, to farmers all across the country. The Minister of Agriculture has done a great deal. For example, in the history of this great country, we now have dry farming. Dry farming is taking place in Jigawa. Dry farming is taking place in Katsina and some other places in the north. The only thing that is required, like I said earlier on, is patience. Within the next 1 year, things will start getting better. I really feel, I understand the plight of Chief Afe Babalola. He's a great Nigerian. And he himself, is one of the elites in this country. He understands, the intricacies, in government. So the point is that it takes time for some of these things to start happening. The president is doing a lot. It's not only palliatives that he's sharing. The palliative is just a temporary measure. There are a whole lot, that is going on. Okay, for example, look at the... Oh, excuse me. Let me put this thing back. Yeah. A whole lot is happening. The president is doing a whole... Look at Smedan. Smedan is a federal government agency. Like I said, 200 billion naira is domiciled in that area. And a lot of small and micro, businesses, medium, enterprises, they are taking advantage. The only thing you can tell me is that the government also need to do a whole lot of job in propagating government informations so that the Nigerian people, more especially the youth, will know of these government policies and know where to go and tap it. There are a lot that is going on.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Agbakahi. I've listened to all that you said. But if we bring it back to, this statement or this contribution from Afebola himself, he argues that distributing palliatives like rice and beans discourages people from working and leads to poverty. Now, how do you reconcile this with the government's efforts to provide immediate relief to those in need? When we talk about these different policies, is there something that is long-term enough that has a transition plan from palliatives to more sustainable economic policies? And he also called for the revival of the 1963 Constitution to address the nation's challenges. What is your view on this proposal? Do you think that a constitutional change could have an impact on the current socioeconomic issues? So that touching on the distribution of palliatives leading to poverty and restructuring the Constitution being restructured, the 1963 Constitution in this case.
Well, in the area of distribution of palliatives that you talked about, on so many occasions in this interview, we're all aware that, okay, look at the Consumer Credit Corporation. It's a pretty good initiative, that came into being in this administration, in order to help Nigerians acquire essential, products. A lot is happening. The area you talked about in respect of the Constitution, I don't really have much to talk about that one because I know we have the Senate and we have the House of Representatives whose duties are to look into any constitutional amendment. But I think I would really suggest that Nigerians let go this issue of constitutional conference for now. Let the president do a work that he is trying to do for this country. Even if it's next year, next 2 years, we can start talking about that. The president has programs. He has mashed out a lot of programs that he's doing to, revive the economy. Our economy was in a mess before he came in. That's why he took that bold decision, to get rid, of the corrupt, to get rid of the corrupt regimes, in terms of fuel subsidy, as well as the obliteration of the exchange rate. These are bad policies. And I can tell you, all the previous administrations since 1999, they all knew these policies are bad. But they kept them. And only few Nigerians, we are benefiting from them, and the whole masses we are suffering. So I think the president was bold enough, was courageous enough to say that enough is enough. There are certain presidents that will say, and they will continue to wallow, with the same fuel subsidy regime and the foreign exchange. Is it not why the former central bank governor, Emefiele, is where he is today? Look at the kind of corruption that was engaged in this particular, foreign exchange market with the former central bank governor and his cliques. The same thing happened during the Diziani era in the oil market. It became the bane of corruption in this country. So I really thank the president for getting rid of these programs. Now we know that what is happening is the real thing. The president is doing well. Look, go to Niger Delta. If you go to Niger Delta, there is a little bit of peace and tranquility there. The issue, and the military is also doing very well. In trying to get rid of, the young people that are messing, our oil over there. And that's why we had to, like I said, since this year, 1.6 million barrels of oil is coming out, of Niger Delta and environs, which is a step in the right direction. A lot has been done, but let's give the president a little bit more time. Like I said earlier, our economy, practically speaking, has moved up a little bit.
Okay, so you're saying our economy has moved up a little bit. So I'd like to ask, can you hear me, sir? Yeah, so you said our economy has moved up a little bit. I want to ask you, how are you measuring that? Has our GDP improved? Do we have a faster growth rate? Do we have improved human development index? Has unemployment reduced? Has poverty rate reduced? Has child malnutrition reduced? What indice, what socio-economic indice are you using to say that our economy has improved?
Before President Bola Ahmed Tinubu came in 2022, our economy rose by 2%. In 2023, when he stayed half of the year, it went up slightly to 2.9%. And it is on record. Check it. It is on record. In 2024, the economy is now up 3%. That is the GDP. The economy is going well. I know the president said it to Nigerians that it will not be easy. Yes, it will not be easy. Yes, what he took was a bold decision to resuscitate the entire economy.
But the economy grew by 3.1%. That was actually a downgrade from the prediction of 3.3%. So it's not doing as well as it should have done after we came out of the 2020 pandemic that everyone felt worldwide. But thank you very much, sir, for your time this morning, and thank you for your contribution to the show.